Hello children and welcome to the world of science. This is lesson number 10, Disaster Management of Standard 10th Science 2, second lecture of this chapter. In this chapter we are going to cover up nature and scope of disaster and disaster management. Myself Kavita Coburne from Gokhale Education Society's HL High School English Medium is going to present it for you. In previous chapter video we have learned about the types of disaster. What happens actually after the disaster? Loss of huge and sudden loss of everything it is. So in order to minimize the losses in such emergency situations and protect ourselves and our belongings, communal help is must. This will not only help to protect ourselves and our belongings but will help large number of masses to do so. It will be a lesson for everyone that in such situation we should help each other. Before offering the help, we should understand the scope of disaster. It consists of pre-disaster phase, warning phase, emergency phases, rehabilitation phases, recovery phase and reconstruction phase. All these points we have to consider before we have to just provide the help or to provide the financial help or any type of things. We have to understand the nature and scope of the disaster first through these 6 points. So now we will just see one by one little bit in detail. The first one is pre-disaster phase. Due to Indian Meteorological Department, the warning predictions are received before any climatic disaster strikes. If the scope of flood is predicted to be high, then the people who may be affected by the calamity are relocated to a safer area. So that is the pre-disaster phase. We can just be alert here. The notifications can be given by the meteorological department and then we can be little bit prepared for that. So that is the pre-disaster phase. Next phase is the warning phase. In the warning phase, the government warns the general public about the forthcoming disaster of floods through mass media. Mass media means radio, television, newspaper like this. In recent times, even the cell phone messages are sent to people for warning them. The people living in coastal areas will be worst affected and hence such people are given greater care and they are immediately made to leave their houses. They are taken to the safe places. So that is done by the government. They are just going through the meteorological signs which are given by the meteorological departments, means the intimations they are given. So that has to be carried forward and that has to be transferred to this people through this different type of media, means radio, television. Through that they are just announcing to the people, those who are staying nearby this disaster prone areas. After warning phase, the next phase arises is the emergency phase. If this condition occurs, what is to be done and what has to be done and what is done. Emergency phase, when the flood waters actually start rising up in the low-lying areas are submerged. There the low-lying areas are totally submerged in that. Houses, roads and shops, everything goes underwater. The rescue operations are carried out by the army men from the National Disaster Rescue Force. That is, in short, it is called as a NDRF. They take every possible efforts to rescue the trapped people in the flood. The emergency continues till the water does not recede, means it goes back or the level goes down. Later, after the water starts receding, the people who had been taken to the places on heights start coming back. During this phase, search, rescue operations, medical treatment and first aid are all the aspects on which the attention is focused. Here the communication system is just brought back. Here you can see the rescue and the search operations, first aid, that is all is provided to this people, those who are affected by this disaster, and that comes in the phase of emergency or in emergency phase. Next is rehabilitation phase. Victims are rehabilitated to much safer place like the relief camps. The people affected due to flood are given emotional and financial support. The fields, farms, houses or the cattle sheds that are under water, such peoples are given transit accommodation, is temporary, Many cattle and other animals die by drowning, so their rotting carcasses have been to be disposed of as soon as possible, because this decaying process will spread the epidemics of diseases. People are given vaccination to protect themselves from diseases of such kinds. Special care of young children and senior citizens is taken during this period. Supply of food and drinking water is also very important task during this time. In recovery phase, the life comes gradually back to normalcy. For that, the removal of dead, decaying material and the debris is the first priority. The water connections, electricity, communication services are restored back for the convenience of the people, those who are affected. Various NGOs or government organizations provide helps to various kinds to this affected people. This help is to be distributed to those who are in real need. This work is also done by the disaster management department. Last point has to be considered is the reconstruction phase. The houses, buildings that collapsed due to flood are built back. Agricultural activities started again. Roads and water supply is once again normalized. School and colleges starts once again. Thus, the once flood affected area comes back to routine functioning again. Taking into consideration the nature and scope of disaster, only three aspects of disasters are important for common citizen. The first phase is phase of emergency. If timely and rapid action is taken during this phase, maximum lives can be saved. Search and rescue operations can be done in this phase. Medical help, first aid, restoring the communication services, removing the people from affected area are done during this phase. The gravity of disaster can be estimated during this phase. How strong the disaster is. Next important phase is transitional phase. The disaster subsides and then the work of transitional phase starts. The main concern is rehabilitation work for the affected and displaced people. This work includes clearing of debris, restoring water supply, repairing roads, etc. to bring back the normalcy in public life. Help from different voluntary and government institute is taken in to offer the monetary provisions and essential commodities to affected victims. Permanent means of livelihood is given to the people to reduce their mental and emotional stress. The victims are truly rehabilitated. Next is reconstruction phase. Reconstruction phase is highly complicated phase which actually overlaps with transition stage. Help is offered to people to reconstruct their buildings. Other facilities like road, water supply are restored. Farming practices also restarted. It is very gradual phase that makes the victims completely rehabilitate. Our planet Earth has experienced many natural disasters, earthquake, like this many other. Listening to the description of those disasters bring numbness to the mind. Most of the disasters and the related unprecedented situations have been occurred in Asia continent and region of Pacific Ocean. Huge loss to the life and the planet Earth has been occurred due to such disasters. Generally, such conditions of natural imbalance have been arisen due to greed of economic progress of human being. Means we can say the greediness of human being is responsible for all these man-made disasters. In reality, old problems of several years have become fierce. Example, increasing population. As population increases, along with the population, the demands also increases with it, and now these demands are coming to the extreme end. Such disasters have been increased after the World War II. Second World War, the feelings of peace and brotherhood among the global citizens were lost. The geographic, religious, racial and ethnic differences sprang up tremendously. Social inequality, economic disparity, racial and religious differences were come adversely that created unrest in the country. The neighboring nations kept on fighting. The geographical boundaries were changed. People always had feeling of insecurity. Incidences like terrorism, abduction, social differences have been a routine now. Production and use of harmful chemicals is under ban in developed countries. However, production of either same or those chemicals which can wipe out the human race is common in developing and poor countries nowadays. Another such threat to human being is from the atomic energy plants. Example, radiation leakage occurred after a blast in atomic energy plant at the Chernobyl in Russia. Its ill effects are still experienced in this region. This atomic energy plant was only used for electricity generation. Nowadays, many countries are equipped with this atomic energy. Out of this, risk of radiation leakage is increasing due to carelessness. Hence, importance of disaster management has become the foremost need of almost all the nations. In fact, it is most necessary for citizens of all countries because they are the main sufferers in any type of disasters. Hence, direct participation of citizens in disaster management is highly necessary. Similarly, disaster management schemes should be changed with respect to location, time, and nature of disaster. It should not be restricted for a particular period. Overall, there may be any type of disaster. It should be overcome. Concept of disaster management has been arisen out of this only. Effective disaster management is necessary in any kind of disasters. It may be minor or major. It may be spread over long period of time or it may be of short period of time. The disaster management should involve public participation. Disaster hits in a rapid way. In managing the after effects of disasters, there should be arrangement to cope up with disasters effects, or there should be the ways to make the citizen capable to face and fight against the consequences. The losses should be minimized. Disasters are suddenly forcing us to deal with them. But by disaster management techniques, the losses can be minimized. Now we will see the objectives of disaster management. First objective, saving of human life during calamity and release of people from that conditions. Second, supply of essential commodities to the people and reduce the effect of disasters. Third one, the restore the human life in the region by reconciliation in disaster. Fourth one, rehabilitate disaster victims, means we have to rehabilitate them so that they can get the drinking, electricity, food and shelter. Fifth one, considering protective measures in disaster will not reach in future and take care to reduce their intensity. Through scientific and careful observation and analysis of previous data, the suitable action plans are developed for the disaster that might come in future. In such plans, the preventive measures, rehabilitation and reconstruction is included. Such plans are kept ready for future. Disaster management is divided into pre-disaster management and post-disaster management. The two types of disaster management, that is pre-disaster management. This includes the complete preparation and planning to face any type of disaster. For that purpose, identifying the pro-disaster areas, collecting the information about intensity or disaster and probable sites of disasters through predictive intensity maps and hazardous maps respectively. From this we can collect the information. C. Getting special training for disaster management. And D. Increasing awareness about disaster management among the general public through training programs, mass media and etc. These all things comes in pre-disaster management. Now we will see the post-disaster management. Post-disaster management, it is including providing all types of necessary help to victims of the disasters. Second, participation of preferably local people saved from the disaster in arranging the help for the victims. Third one, quick establishment of help center. Different types of disaster need different types of control centers. Just example, we can take the COVID situation. In this COVID situation, the school and the colleges, those which were closed, or the hostels those which are not in use, they were converted into the COVID centers. Fourth one, categorization of the help material received from the control center, delivering the material to victims, and continuous review of the help. Means from the different sources we are getting the different type of material for the victims as a relief fund. So this relief material has to reach to each and every person. For that, it has to be controlled continuously. In a one day only all the help is not provided. Slowly and in limited quantity it is given to these people, so that everyone should get the help. Being always prepared for disaster rescue. Like this, in this video we have covered up the nature and scope of disaster and the disaster management types. In the next video we will be meeting soon. Till then, take care and goodbye. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe it. Till then, take care.